Am I the a-hole for throwing my husband's dinner in the garbage? We have a rather small kitchen. There's basically only two places to stand, work while cooking, in front of the counter or in front of the stove. I have frequently asked my husband to please stay out of the kitchen if I am in there cooking, because there's just no room for two people and he will be in the way, etc. He constantly ignores this request though. Last night, he came into the kitchen at kind of a critical point while I had stuff in the frying pan and was preparing stuff at the counter. He stood in front of the stove and I was just waiting for him to move so that I could get to it. Then he said, "This looks like it's burning. Are you gonna even do anything?" In exasperation, I yelled, "Effin' move!" But instead, he stood there and started lecturing me to not yell at him. It's his kitchen too and he has every right to be in there also, etc. By the time he finished, the stuff in the pan was well and truly burnt. So I scraped it into the trash and told him to go make his own effin' dinner because it was his kitchen too. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I am completely blown away by how many people share my opinion on this. I always felt like an utter jerk because my husband could not care less if I invaded his space when he's the one cooking. And for a bit of clarification, we're both guys, so it's also reassuring to hear how normal this type of conflict is. Keep your kitchen zones, ladies. Husbands can keep the F out if they're hindering and not helping.
My wife has an overbearing cousin who loves to invite herself over. She loves eating our food, shoves seconds and thirds down, but only contributes overly critical comments. Anyways, cousin invites herself and husband to our home for a week. My wife and I hatch a plan for them to leave, but without giving her ammunition to complain. Our family loves food, but can eat cereal 3 times a day for weeks on end. We finish our regular food and empty the fridge freezer and unplug it. Get plenty of cereal and boxed milk, doesn't need to be refrigerated until after opening. We let the cousin know our fridge is out, so we're not cooking, but there is plenty of cereal. Cousin doesn't believe we would eat like that, so still comes over. She lasted a day before getting a hotel. Wife and I went normal grocery shopping the next night, but the kids kept eating cereal. They even put cereal into a Ziploc, brought a little box of milk and ate it at school. AmItheA, my wife had a habit of this for a minute when we first got married. Add to it, she's one of those people that literally never picks food, will say I'm not hungry and then eat half of mine, and I'm a chef, so food is the biggest deal to me. It was a big problem, we fought about it frequently. My solution. If she didn't want food, I wouldn't order any. If she didn't want to pick dinner, and I was tired of always doing it, I'd eat a bag of chips. If I was cooking, and she got in the way too, and it's always this, wash dishes, I'd turn off the pan and go sit down. Took a minute, but now I can cook in peace. I get feedback when we're ordering food, and I finally get to enjoy everything I order, unless I decide to share. Those were a hungry few months though, and having to be firm with "I've told you I won't cook if you get in the way, we've got 1 square of counter space for me to work with, and you only ever do the dishes when I'm cooking" got tiresome. Point was eventually made. Might have taken 2 weeks of me flat out refusing to cook or pick meals, but it was eventually understood that she'd turned my favorite time of day into something so stressful I just didn't want to eat anymore. My GF and I have a very small kitchen, common for the country we live in. I'm an immigrant not used to the small kitchen, so I was very clear that I feel anxious having anyone else in such a small space while I try to work. It took twice where I just turned everything off, walked out of the kitchen and sat down on the couch and just waited till everyone cleared out. One time was her and her mom in our tiny ass kitchen, just about had a full-blown panic attack. You literally can't have 3 people in our kitchen without touching each other. All good now, but took some drastic action like just walking out and saying they could finish cooking before the message got through. OP/NTA. It isn't bad at all. I've been alone for a long time and I live alone, and honestly I've never been happier. So far there has never been anyone who has made me happy enough to make up for how much suffering they cause either during the relationship or as a result of ending it. Being alone is the best. I don't really understand why people get married in the first place, TBH. I don't think I'll do it even if I do meet someone who makes me happy 99% of the time, which I also don't believe is a thing that could happen. NTA. My boyfriend does pretty much the same thing. We have a decent-sized kitchen, way bigger than the one I grew up in, but it's like he knows where I'm wanting to go, and he plants himself right there. Last time I cooked I was doing a couple potatoes in the pressure pot and then making some ramen for him. I stepped away from the stove so I could release the pressure on the pot, the same time the ramen started to boil over, so I tried to turn it off, except he managed to place himself right in front of the oven and just stood there looking at his phone. Most of the time I think it's because he's trying to stand just a foot or two away and just happens to get in the way. But man, sometimes it feels planned. Most of the time I'll just grab his shoulders or hips or arms and just move him where I want him to stand so he's not in the way and continue on. NTA people standing in the way is bad enough. Top 3 annoyances that are regular. To do that, then be a prick about what you're blocking. I admire your control. Best case scenario is my overnight bag is packed and the divorce paperwork is on the table within the hour if this isn't your daily thing. Even if it wasn't inconsiderate, even if it wasn't insensitive, even if he just didn't give a shit about your thoughts and feelings at all, he's also a walking hazard. What happens if something catches fire and your new wall is having the time of their life concentrating on standing and breathing at the same time? TLDR, they failed on basic respect, at being a good partner, and on common sense. NTA by far. NTA, I enjoy company in the kitchen. I have specific safe spaces for people to be if they're just hanging out while I'm cooking, end of the counter, by the fridge, etc. But if you're standing in front of the stove, be helpful or GTFO. My husband occasionally does this. I was just seeing what was up. Cool, you're now babysitting the pasta and flipping chicken, I'll be over there chopping salad veggies, so yeah. If he wants to hang around, he either finds a spot that's not in the way or does whatever task he's capable of that is least in the main cook's way. Those are the kitchen rules. I'm petty enough I'd stand in front of the TV or wander around aimlessly doing random tasks in whatever space he's trying to use, etc. It's my space too. OMG, I'm married to your husband's clone. I didn't realize he had a clone. Even your husband, it's my kitchen. Too defensiveness sounds exactly like my spouse. NTA, honey, I think you showed admirable restraint not turning around with prep knife and accidentally stabbing him a few times. Joking reference from Chicago the musical, folks, it's from Cell Block Tango.